Let's get to the news. Former President Trump yesterday announced Ohio Senator J.D. Vance will be his running mate, despite the fact that Vance once called him a moral disaster and said that he could be America's Hitler. Damn. If he can say all that and still get picked for vice president, I figure I got a chance at Secretary of State at least. I'm in the mix. That's right. Trump announced yesterday he had selected Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate. Look at this guy. He looks like the politician in a sci-fi movie who's secretly working with the aliens. He looks like a Funko Pop doll of himself. He looks like Teen Wolf graduated and came back to coach the team. I got a bunch of these, but it's a long campaign, so I'm going to save some. When asked in a new interview how he would handle disagreements with former President Trump, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance said that they would be dealt with in private. Said one man, good luck with that. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez was found guilty today of all 16 counts in his federal corruption case, including bribery, extortion, and wire fraud, or as they call those in New Jersey, waste management. President Biden spoke today in Las Vegas at the National Convention for the NAACP, while every Republican was busy speaking at the convention for the NAAWP. While addressing the Republican National Convention yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson's teleprompter malfunctioned mid-speech. Luckily, there was someone there to help. Wally, no! North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson spoke yesterday at the Republican National Convention and said that former President Trump is, quote, the Braveheart of our time, though personally, I think any similarity begins and ends with face paint. A Florida man was arrested recently after he allegedly fell asleep behind the wheel with his car running in a Taco Bell drive-thru. He's being charged with 1 count of mistiming an edible. A fossil of a 161-million-year-old Stegosaurus is set to go up for auction this week and is expected to sell for up to $6 million. I'll take it, said a wealthy 4-year-old. I was wondering what the picture would look like. That kid looks like he's got money. Authorities in Pennsylvania recently arrested a professional clown for allegedly promoting prostitution. The man is reportedly devastated that his family will find out he was a professional clown. And finally, the makers of Doritos have unveiled a coffee-flavored chip in Australia. That's what Australia needed. One more thing that can kill you. While speaking last night at the Republican National Convention, Nikki Haley said, quote, there are some Americans who don't agree with Donald Trump 100% of the time. For example, all the speakers of the RNC just a few months ago. That's right. Nikki Haley spoke at the RNC last night and said that former President Trump has her, quote, strong endorsement, period. And then Mike Johnson tried to have her arrested for saying period. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz appeared to get into a verbal argument last night on the floor of the Republican National Convention. Also on the floor of the Republican National Convention, Rudy Giuliani. Did the punchline have anything to do with the setup? No. But this is a stressful time in America, and we got to find joy where we can. After Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz confronted former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy at the Republican National Convention last night, McCarthy reportedly said, quote, shut up, Gaetz, don't be an ass. Excuse me, are you telling this guy not to be an ass? Would you tell the sun not to shine or the grass not to grow? Would you tell the surf not to crash on the shore? Look at that guy. That is a perfect central casting ass. If you were a decent person and you were about to embark on a year-long campaign to try and become the best ass you could ever be, this is the picture you tape to your fridge. In a phone conversation between former President Trump and independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that was leaked this week, Trump appears to criticize vaccines for babies and said the syringes look, quote, like it's meant for a horse. Though, to be clear, he's not against humans taking horse medicine. Former President Trump said in a new interview that he wants Taiwan to pay the U.S. for protection, or else what, they sleep with the fishes? Are you running for president or head of the Gambino crime family? President Biden is reportedly considering endorsing changes to the Supreme Court, including term limits and a code of ethics, when he heard Justice Clarence Thomas was so shocked his monocle popped out and landed in his caviar. A man who allegedly got caught in the tide off the coast of Queens was recently rescued off the coast of New Jersey after treading water overnight, which, by the way, is still the fastest way to get from Queens to New Jersey. It's a local joke. But if you're watching at home, don't come here. It's a disaster, dude. It's a disaster. Authorities in Philadelphia are looking for thieves who allegedly stole 400 cases of beef, or as it's known in Philly, an entire day's worth. According to a new study, men with beards are more likely to stay in romantic relationships than clean-shaven men. Okay, well, also there's like one woman at the North Pole. And finally, the FDA has issued a warning to several companies this week in an effort to crack down on so-called copycat snacks that are packaged like popular brands but contain drugs such as Chips Ahoy. This news first reported by the Giraffe in Billy's Closet. President Biden tested positive yesterday for COVID-19. On the plus side, everyone around him was already distancing. According to a new report, President Biden had a tense Zoom call over the weekend with House Democrats. If you're wondering why it was so tense, an 81-year-old man was trying to use Zoom. Why couldn't this just be a fax? Former President Trump is offering limited edition sneakers that feature the photograph of him getting shot. How do you know they're Trump sneakers? They're soulless. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz spoke last night at the Republican National Convention. When reached for comment, he couldn't get his phone to unlock. Dude, what happened to your face? I swear it's me! Did you spend the night in a rock tumbler? I like that we have one writer who knows what a rock tumbler is. A New York man was arrested this week after he was allegedly caught masturbating while watching pornography in the electronics department of a Walmart. Said officers, "Where do you think you are, Radio Shack?" In a new interview, actress Scarlett Johansson said she hopes nobody will ever read texts with her group chat with her Avengers co-stars. "There's a group chat?" said Hawkeye. Is it because I only do arrows? The arrows are good. According to a new survey, 95% of dog owners said that they watch movies with their pets, or, and hear me out, the dog just lives there and doesn't have a choice. A reproductive rights organization recently put up a 20-foot-tall inflatable IUD outside a beach in Virginia, and beachgoers are complaining because it's blocking all the swimmers. A joke about... It's a sex ed joke. Sex ed joke. And finally, a flock of sheep. I'm going to say something real quick, guys. Sometimes a joke is totally dependent on the graphic that we're going to show at the end. And the graphic here is really the balance in which this joke hangs in. And I'm going to find out for the first time how it's going to go. It was a big ask for the graphics department, and I'm very excited to see how this one turns out. And finally, a flock of sheep in Greece recently got into a greenhouse and ate more than 200 pounds of medical marijuana. And they reportedly got so stoned, their wool straightened.